7:36. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Anne and Ellie. We're live across the UK on both your TV and your radio.
Well, let's take a look at today's front pages for you. We'll start with the Sunday Times. It leads on claims that Downing Street officials ordered Sue Gray's report into rule-breaking lockdown parties be diluted.
The Observer takes a critical line on the Prime Minister's changes, alleging more infighting within the Conservative Party.
The Sunday Express backs Gove to succeed the supposed troubled Prime Minister.
And the Mail on Sunday leads on the return of the Crown, yippee, on beer glasses in time for the Queen's Jubilee.
The Sunday Telegraph leads on Boris Johnson's plan to name and shame petrol stations who are engaging in price gouging.
So let's go right through the papers now. Joining us this morning, former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and deputy editor of Spiked, Fraser Myers. Hello again.
Good morning.
So we're kicking off with you, Fraser, and you've been looking at the police tear-gassing the fans last night.
Yeah, it's incredibly shocking at the Stade de France for the Champions League games. You know, there's images of the police tear-gassing fans even through the fence. You know,
when there was
defenceless fans,
yes.
No need for it. There were children in those crowds. I think it's pretty shocking. It's a demonstration of the way that football fans are often treated with contempt. You know, they're particularly working class people seen as almost not fully human, so to speak. And the other thing that's been very shocking is that the fans have been blamed for all of the disruptions. So UEFA tried to blame the fans for turning up late, even though it's very clear that a lot of them were early and were just not being allowed in. The French government has even blamed the British fans, singling them out as
and saying they turned up with fake tickets, when there's actually no proof of that.
Exactly, and I'm sure there will have been some who turned up with fake tickets. These things happen at these huge events.
But as Aidan was saying, there are people who had bona fide tickets who were told they were fake.
Exactly.
So it's just not good enough, is it?
No, it's really shocking. And so they're being treated appallingly, and unfortunately, that is how football fans are often treated.
We were saying Hillsborough was trending last night and this morning, Dawn. It is reminiscent, isn't it?
It's very
of the fan culture, and it could have been a lot worse.
It could have been an awful lot worse, and it's unfortunate that it's Liverpool fans again. And there was one fan this morning I was listening to who was saying it felt to him like worse than Hillsborough. And for a Liverpool fan to say that, you've got to appreciate that it really must have been actually very, very traumatic. There was another chap saying that he was with his 82-year-old father-in-law who was tear-gassed.
Yes, we saw pictures of a child being tear-gassed.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and I've got a friend who was out there at Liverpool, and they got to the ground an hour and a half. So it's not like rushing in at the last minute, an hour and a half before the game was due to kick off, and the ticket barriers have been shut down, they weren't working. And then there are other stories about, someone who had actually a ticket from a player, so therefore,
that's right, Aidan was telling us.
Bona fide.
Yeah. And Gary Lineker had trouble.
Even Gary Lineker.
Yes, so I mean, and Gary Lineker said it was an absolute disgrace, and he's been to more.
There needs to be an inquiry.
It's really important to get across how painful it is to be tear gassed.
Yes.
I've been tear gassed in France as well, in Paris, when I was covering the Gilets jaunes protests a couple of years ago. And literally, they're firing out these tear gas cannons, and it can, it can land what feels like miles away, and you still get your eyes start stinging instantly. So it's incredibly painful. It's incredibly cruel way to treat people.
And from what we can see of the pictures, it looked unnecessary.
Yeah.
It really did, but there will have to be an inquiry. Cheer us up, Dawn, with the Queen's Jubilee.
I'm going to try and cheer you up.
Yes.
This is the Daily Star on Sunday, and it's having a bit of fun, which the Daily Star put on us to do. And one is not amused. Picture of the Queen pulling one of her faces with some bunting. The story is that Jubilee bunting is being banned from lampposts because it's too heavy.
Where?
Now this is
name and shame the place.
I'm going to. This is Portsmouth Council, and also in Bournemouth. Jobsworths are claiming that it's not safe to hang featherweight flag. I mean, we know how heavy a piece of bunting is. It's really not heavy, and if the lamppost is that fragile, you've got to be worried about your lamppost. Council warning that no bunting is to be strung from telegraph poles or lampposts, and it must be at least 5.5 metres from the ground. I don't know what that is in feet. Another one we need to do. It's all the health and safety thing around having a party.
Don't you think the world's gone mad?
Totally,
it's
Ellie.
Bar humbug, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The Jubilee, and you can't hang.
But sort of like groups of neighbours who are sort of like literally having a cup of tea in the garden, quite literally. 32 pages of forms to fill out, including counter-terrorism.
No.
And and to severe weather events.
What would the Queen think? This is not the right attitude, is it? Tell us about wokery, Fraser.
What can't you say about wokery? There's the police have started a new initiative, or they're encouraging people to report what are called non-crime hate incidents. Now, this is a confusing term because you think, shouldn't the police be dealing with crime? No, not anymore. So for a while there's been this thing called the non-crime hate incident, which is basically anything that happens that could be perceived to be racist, transphobic, etc., can be reported to the police. If it's logged against you, it appears on an enhanced DBS form, so it can show up if you're applying for a job. You might not even know that you have one of these logged against you. So it's kind of almost like a parallel legal system that's developed. These were never voted in by Parliament.
Police,
it's the thought police. These were never voted in by Parliament. They were created by the College of Policing, which is a Quango, a non-government body. They've been struck down in the courts. The courts have said the police should not be handing out non-crime hate incidents. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, says that all home crime and hate incidents should be wiped from the register. And now we have the police saying, actually, we're going to hand out more of these non-crime hate incidents to deal with anti-trans speech.
They don't have the capacity for that, surely.
But it's illegal. I mean, the Court of Appeal last year ruled that it was illegal to do that. So the police are now actually breaking the law.
I think the police have just basically gone off on their own initiative on these issues.
You wonder why they would give themselves more paperwork.
You'd think so, but I think it's quite an easy thing for them to do. It's literally just logging down someone's name and saying, or if someone's been aggrieved, they have to agree with them, basically.
Meanwhile, prosecution for rapes and sex attacks have gone actually through the floor.
But that's difficult. It's difficult to actually secure a conviction, whereas a non-crime hate incident, you are just literally filling out a form if you're a police officer. You just have to. You don't even have to establish that a criminal act has taken place.
I'm sure most ordinary coppers on the beat think this is absolutely ludicrous as well. It's not them doing this.
It's the last thing they need.
Of course, absolutely. Just
I think most of them want to get on with what they would put old-fashioned copper in.
Absolutely, and every time there's a new top cop appears, they say, we're going to get rid of this stuff. I remember a couple of years ago, one of the police chiefs saying, this is pointless, we've got to get rid of it. There was a new head of the kind of National Crime Service recently came in, he said, we're going to stop this thought policing, it's not our job. But it just carries on, and it grows, and it gets worse.
We've got to leave it there, I'm afraid, but you'll be back, won't you, with some more stories from the news next time.
Yes.
Thanks very much indeed.